I am Tucker Cinco Hamilton. I'm a fighter test pilot for the U.S. Air Force, or I was up till just a few months ago. I've flown over 2,000 hours in 30 different aircraft. I've been on 80 combat missions, 290 test missions. I've been in dozens of emergency situations while flying around, some of which while I was approaching Mach 2, which is quite interesting. I've been on the leading edge of aviation for over a decade. I was one of the first American jet suit pilots. I've commanded organizations over 1,000 people, delivering technology like bringing in autonomous life-saving capability into modern aviation. And most recently, I was flying along an uncrewed aircraft when, for the first time in the history of aviation, an AI agent took control of that aircraft. Hardest thing I have done, though, over that career is raise this puppy. My goodness, do not listen to him. He is not allowed to eat the baseboard of our home. No, it has been leading. The hardest thing I've had to do is lead. And we've talked about technology, and I'm not going to talk about AI today because I think technology demands us to be more responsible as leaders, to show up for our people where they are at. And with my experience in very dynamic, high-pressure situations and organizations, I would love to share with you some thoughts that I think will hopefully help lay a foundation for how we address adopting technology. In this ever-changing world, it really requires you all to start thinking about, are you meeting people where they're at? People want to feel that they have meaning. They want to feel like they're going to make an impact. They want to feel valued, right? And that ultimately is going to be your responsibility to meet them where they're at along their journey. And we all have different stories. No, you probably don't have a story about getting struck in the face by lightning while you're escorting Air Force One. It hit me right here. But you have stories nonetheless that are extremely engaging and important in order to unleash your last 20%. And this idea is that we live at 80% of our potential, which isn't bad. It's above average. It's a B minus. But this is not about a B minus. This is a call to greatness. And our last 20% can be elusive, though, because what we think of it is, I just need to work harder. I need to wake up at 3 a.m. and run 10 miles, then I'm going to be great. Well, I'll tell you, I think that type of mentality actually pulls you away from, distracts you from being great, because being great is not about just one thing, your professional pursuits. Greatness is about your purpose, your priorities, your resiliency, your empathy, and most importantly, agreeing with my wife. That's what she tells me, at least. That is the most important thing. No, but that is what my stories are hopefully going to provide for you. Okay, so you need a purpose. We're going to start there. It's not a goal, right? Here's a map. There's lots of different destinations. You can get to those destinations in a lot of different ways, but a purpose is something bigger. You need a purpose. Your people need purpose. You need to encourage them to think about what their purpose is. Your companies need a purpose, and that deeper thing is an aspiration of who you want to become. My purpose statement is to passionately toil, reflectively love. Now, that's for me. And what it is, and I think about it often, is I want to be passionate about what I'm doing. I need to work hard, but I also want to be sharing love with those around me. Do you think my purpose in life was to fly? I'll tell you, it was not. I didn't actually care about aviation. I didn't even plan on joining the military. I mean, look at this picture of me. Keep that guy away from an aircraft. I look ridiculous. I nearly quit pilot training numerous times, actually, because I found it tedious. But I have loved my career, the mission, the technology, but the people, and flying. Yeah, flying was fun. It's exciting, and I've been able to express myself in cool ways while I'm flying upside down and pulling 9Gs and things like that. But it's all about how I lived, who I surrounded myself with. And I'll tell you, fulfillment has not happened overnight, right? I think we know that. Oftentimes, we have to work super hard, and some of that work is tedious. It is unenjoyable. If you manage teams, though, you got to make sure that there is a clear purpose for them that resonates for them. And then, of course, as being team members, which we all are team members, we don't give up when things are tough, right? At times, you don't even know you're going to love something until you worked through the toughness. And that's where grit comes in. And I will tell you, immediate gratification that our world is selling right now is a barrier to anyone's greatness. There's one set of missions that I was on that I think was very perilous to a certain extent, but a good discussion point talking about our purpose. All right, so I was testing the automatic ground collision avoidance system. So auto GCAS, as we called it, is when an aircraft knows it's going to hit the ground and it recovers the pilot and saves them automatically. So the pilot's not in control for a few seconds. As test pilots, we had to go take that technology and make sure that it was safe for other people to fly, which meant we had to fly around at 600 miles an hour at 100 feet, through mountainous terrain. And we needed to make sure that the system turned on or didn't turn on when it was supposed to. And you can imagine how focused we were with our flight path. Our flight path is where we are going, and we are focused right out front where our flight path was, not on the sides, because I'll tell you, if I was 1 degree low off of the horizon, 1 degree dive, I'd have 2 seconds to recover before I would hit the ground. That's how fast you're going at those speeds at that altitude. So you couldn't be distracted by these things over here. You needed to look up at times and make sure there wasn't another aircraft that was going to intersect with yours or something else that you needed to worry about. But it was basically right out front. Man, but a lesson that I would love to share with you is don't miss the trees for the forest. Like we hear all the time, oh, don't miss the forest for the trees. But sometimes, which is really good to have a strategic outlook, sometimes you need to be paying attention to what's going to get you right now. And we get so distracted by those other things, especially as this world is ever changing with technology. We need to be focused on what our purpose is and not be too distracted by those things out there. And you have a responsibility to your team to make sure that you're moving in a direction and that you are paying attention to what is possibly going to pop up, a tree that may just get in your way and you're going to have to respond to it. And you got to worry about your priorities. What are you being distracted by right now in your life? How do you get back on track if you overreact because you realize maybe I have misprioritized? There was this one time I was flying with my flight lead. He was number 1. I was number 2. Our job that day is we were going to go fly against 2 other pilots in the squadron, and we had to defeat them before they defeated us. So we shoot our missiles. We turn in this depiction south, and we wait for our missiles to time out because our missiles are going to do their work against the bad guys. And we defeat them. So they're out of the way. Now we're going to move and fly towards that target area. And we're going to be over that target area for 15 minutes. So the ensuing next few minutes, this is what happens. My flight lead and I basically get in an argument over the radio because I can see him, but he can't see me, which is natural. As I was turning back in, I got far away. I got miles away. And we usually fly a couple miles away, but I was like 5 miles away. And so he was like, all right, first it started cordial. 2, where are you? I was like, 1, I see you. I'm getting back in position. And then it escalates and escalates and escalates. He's getting mad on the radio. I'm getting defensive on the radio. And I am laser focused on him the entire time. I am watching where he is going. And I get on his wing and I'm at 3,000 feet. And he is like, number 2, where are you? And I'm like, number 1, I'm right off your left wing, rocking my wings, we call it, with a flash, flaring. And I start dropping flares behind me like fireworks in the sky. There's a pause. Number 2, are you flying off one of the bad guys we just killed out? And lo and behold, I had never turned back to the target area. I saw one of the bad guy aircraft. And I was like, oh, that's my flight lead. I'm going to just pay attention to that one thing. I'm going to fly along him for the next 5 minutes. I'm 60 miles away from my flight lead. He is livid, of course. And I'm like, I'm out of position. So I was misprioritizing things. I was focused on one thing. And oftentimes I think that thing is our work. And we're just like going this way and we're going the wrong way. And we don't realize that there's this other purpose out there, this other fulfillment that we are passing by because we are being channelized. We call it channelized attention in the fighter world, but we are being channelized on the wrong priority. And there are times, of course, where our priorities kind of move around. Mine's my faith, my family, and my work. And I get it. Sometimes work is more important, but regardless, you need to make sure that you're not channelized too much and disregarding what your priorities are. On top of that, my flight lead was like, get back into position. And I'm like, yes, sir. And so I plug it into 5 stages of afterburner. That's as fast as you can go in an F-15C. And I raced to get back into position, which was fantastic. I got there right as he was getting to that target area. And you know what happened? Within about 10 seconds of me getting there, I was out of fuel because I had used afterburner. I had used all my fuel getting back into position. So you can imagine how upset he was now. This is why they call me Cinco, by the way. That's my call sign story. 5 stages of AB, flying around that too long. But the point is, not only did I make a mistake and misprioritize what I was focusing at when I was flying away from him, and by the way, I had other information that showed me right away that I was that far away, but then I misprioritized the corrective action to get back into position. You need to have priorities. You need to live them out. You need to role model them, and you need to tell your team to find and abide by theirs. I'm telling you, this whole technology, this is awesome, but leadership is what we need in this country, in our society, at MIT, everywhere. It's leadership. And when you get off track, you got to find a productive way to get back. And one way to help you is actually to be balanced. Equilibrium. It is something that I aspire for. Our social, mental, physical, and spiritual pillars are so important for our fulfillment. You know who you should go ask if I'm a balanced person? My wife and my kids. Not my work boss, but that's all we think about. Like, oh yeah, I'm balanced. We don't think about actually talking about the people in our lives that are highest priority. Like, am I living a balanced life, dear? Air refueling is a great analogy. We have to fly in three-dimensional space, so up, down, in, out, side, side, and it is very precise. And while you're flying around, man, those tanker pilots, they'd love to turn right into the sun, and then you get blinded because the sun's right there, or they'll fly into weather. But ultimately, you're having to deal with a lot of different dynamics. On top of that, you're gaining fuel, you're refueling, and your center of gravity is changing in your aircraft, which is requiring you to respond. You know how we successfully fly air refueling? It's a very rapid, small adjustments and a very fast cross-check. So look up here. Good. Here, there. You're moving around. You're moving fast. Your head is moving too, and you're specifically being deliberate with staying in a good position. Because if you fall aft, that's one thing. You can correct that. But if you fall aft and then you fall off to the side, and then you maybe go back to, oh man, that is going to be a complex correction. And that's what I mean by staying in balance. Because if you can try to go for a balance in your life with those pillars, and whatever that means for you, that's for you. But you got to stay in that equilibrium, because if you make small perturbations out, you need to get back quick, because you do not want to deal with what happens when you're in that really bad position, you're out of balance, and then something big happens, something bad happens. How are you going to be able to respond? Life is changing so rapidly. It takes so much attention to be in that balance, in that moment, especially with this world that we have with the technology, and this is only getting faster. Your people are going through ever competing distractions, changing priorities, and ultimately challenges. And some of them are self-induced, some of them are not, but regardless, you have to be there to help lead them, right? You need to encourage others to know what balance looks like, which means you need to role model it. I can't tell you how many leaders I've heard say balance is important, but they do not role model it. You got to give people space to find out what that balance is and to live that balance out. And resiliency. Man, you got to trust in your purpose. You got to have your priorities. You got to work for your balance. And then I want to give you some hope. Resiliency is not an individual sport. It is a team sport. You must find, celebrate, and contribute to a community. That's how we're going to actually thrive. Are you giving folks in your organizations opportunities to connect? TEDx is awesome. It's a fantastic community. But how are you encouraging that? How are you leading that for your people, the people that you're around? I was dogfighting with my wingman back in 2008. We merged right there the first time at 1,000 miles an hour combined speed. We turn towards each other, and we find ourselves in this position. We are 7 seconds from a midair collision. I realize that something is wrong, but by the time I figure it out, the collision course is set. It's a miracle I survived. All right. Massive disorientation as this collision happened. 500 miles an hour, 20 feet behind my cockpit. His aircraft went into the mid-body of my aircraft. Massive chaos. Lost my vision initially, got it back a few seconds later, and all I remember is I have 3 rear view mirrors in the F-15C. They're completely engulfed in flames. So I reach down, I pull the ejection handles, and I get out. And then when I'm under parachute, which my mind was not with it, I dropped all my survival equipment. Accidentally, it's a negative transfer bias, nothing. And all I had was a life preserver unit around my neck. When I hit the 60-degree waters, 70 miles south of Panama City, Florida, in 6-foot waves, I'll tell you, I thought I was going to die. Nobody could find me. A couple hours later, a 25-foot fishing boat that was out for the day, 70 miles south of Panama City, Florida, just happened upon me. And they pulled me up. They're like, hey, man, you want to ride? And I'm like, freezing. Like, yes, please. And I survived. Tragically, my wingman died. He died on impact. Man, how do you pick yourself back up from that? I failed him. I failed his family. I failed our squadron. I failed my profession. And I had to move forward with that shame of failure. This is my aircraft they pulled from the Gulf of Mexico a few months after the collision. Little did I know that a few years after this, I would be responsible for and a member of a team developing automatic collision avoidance technology from the ground and from other aircraft. You don't know how your story is going to end, but I'll tell you, it is a lie when someone says, you just got to pick yourself back up. Because that doesn't work. You know what works? People, our community picking us back up, helping us thrive in the difficult times. Even if you're balanced, you're going to have emergencies like this. How are you going to pick yourself? You're not. You're going to look to those around you, and you're going to have to be those people, and then you're going to have to be the one asking for help when it's difficult on you too. You're going to get knocked down. Your people are going to get knocked down. They will need others to help them back up. The power of the collective is what is going to allow our society to thrive in these difficult, changing times. The lack thereof will create a vacuum that will drive us to fall apart. Empathy. Do not dehumanize other people. In fact, stop overlooking people that you pass by. True strength lies not just in precision and power, but in perspective. I spent hundreds of hours flying in Afghanistan in this aircraft, an intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance aircraft, watching the lives of our quote-unquote enemy. I would see them come home. Their kids would meet them in their yard. Their spouse would meet them in their yard. Some of those people are bad people, do not get me wrong, but they were still human. Their world was shaped by aspects of their culture, their upbringing, their biases, just like our world is shaped by the same thing. And while antithetical to our values, they were still human. And empathy is not agreeing with others. In a way, it's trying to understand perspectives to help shape ours, to help meet people where they're at. When we see others as human, from our enemies to our political opponents to airline pilots, those guys, we learn to listen, right? Progress is only possible if we move forward together. So don't walk away from this talk with this idea, man, that really attractive fighter test pilot told me some interesting stories. No, I hope you walk away with you need to pursue greatness, which includes leading other people to their greatness, which requires you to meet them where they're at. You need to think about balance in your own life. You need to be able to encourage others to find that as well. You have to give more, but that more, your last 20%, is not about succeeding professionally. It's about the balance and the empathy and the resiliency, and that is actually where greatness lies. Are you really living in a way that inspires others? I have a feeling that all of us, including myself, have more to give. We have moments of connecting to others, being present in the moment with our loved ones, as well as knocking it out of the park when you have a presentation or an important decision at work. But it all has to come together. And your willingness to become a leader, to actually lead people, to meet people where they're at, to work hard to maintain your priorities and your balance is where your last 20% lies. Thank you.